NOS4A22, Book 2, Trust No One, Chapter 18, The Dream Home. The cabin home wasn't exactly a log cabin home, but had logs as a frame with two walls that were just reinforced plywood. The reinforcement being an outer wall of hardened indigenous mud clay that was a dark red color similar to dried blood. One wall was made of small logs that were stacked on top of each other and fused with this same red clay. The logs were dark and wet, with some bright green moss on the edges that lined the stacked layers of each one. The wall with the door entrance was made of limestone that was stacked in an odd design, with jagged parts of the broken rocks coming out in places they ought not to be, like they were intended to cut a person passing through the doorway if they weren't very careful or paying attention. Something about the place didn't feel right and gave the vibe they felt in the spiritual dark realm, but it wasn't that. This was something else beyond that. It couldn't be that simple. As Cammy and Stu collectively thought about it telepathically, they realized what it was. This home was a home Stewart had dreamed of in a very clear, lucid dream not that long ago. Why was this home clarified and well established in their memories? As if they had not only dreamed it, as they most surely did, but the reason why did this bother them so much? It was something they couldn't answer within themselves, no matter how hard they tried, no matter how deep they were digging in their strained minds. The home was filled with strange dust, same as the atmosphere all around in that little cleared area. They followed the man with the Mountain Dew shirt, and he led them through that misty dust with the strange aura as it was lit by the sun, and something else that made the color of it reflect a glow of white with an almost gray like faded fool's gold. There was fool's gold petrified wood all around, coming out of the ground. They noticed it bordering the trees, those two that were by the house. Those two trees were so very different than the other trees in the vast forest in which they were in the middle of. How on earth could this place exist? It wasn't improbable, but it certainly was unsettling that this man would meet them considering Cammy and Stewart's circumstances. Stewart noticed a flash of a young girl. He saw only 3 flashes of within a period of time that lasted about 9 seconds. This young girl was an undetermined age in her teens, and she was pulling her oversized shirt up to play with her belly button. Stu had no idea what this could mean, as he tried to forget the many other figures of people him and Cammy saw when they first met the Mountain Dew man he was referring to him as. They interpreted the flashes of people to be the wandering lost souls who were roaming between the realms and planes of existence that had been compromised through the paradigm shift and the breaking of extra-dimensional layers. This meant that the walls that separated each realm and plane of existence had collapsed in on each other. There was no separation of two-dimensional perspective, and perception of this was skewed because of this shattering of realities. These flashes of people weren't people, though. They were just like the Mountain Dew man. Each flash was a glimpse of the demonic evil entities entering the 3D flesh and blood world. Each flash was signifying more and more of the hateful creatures as they entered the earth realm through the dark nether realm and many of the other hidden places away from the divine beings. There was some kind of mental block occurring to shield Cammy and Stu from realizing the fact before them. This spell of sorts was like a blinding to their senses that otherwise would have easily been caught for what it was. There was a jagged baseline of the golden petrified wood slivers at the trunks of those two very different trees. The house had a high level of oxygen and was very welcoming. It had a large gray couch against the back wall. The tree with the treehouse built through the hollowed out upper section was fascinating. The construction was unconventional and abstract beyond any normal builder's capabilities. Somehow they knew this place shouldn't be there, but it was. Just like Cammy and Stu, they were there, even though they knew damn well they shouldn't have been. What else were they going to do? This was the only thing that could have happened, and so it happened. Cammy and Stu fell right into the trap that was laid out before them like a baby lamb that wandered astray from the flock. As Cammy and Stu followed this man into the house with the unsettling atmosphere, the abundance of oxygen rushed to their lungs and refreshed them, giving them the illusion of safety. The thought came to the both of them, what if this place did belong somewhere else? They knew this feeling didn't come from nowhere. There had to be truth to this sensation that had come over the both of them. The house emanated a foulness that was masked with the purified air, which was rich with moisture and minerals to give a soothing effect. The foulness was as subtle as a lie told by the sweetest lips of a beautiful and trusted lover. Like the lying tongue of a secret whore, this little home had its secrets and was a place where many evil acts and deeds had been carried out. But not here, not in this forest. The inability to focus on the details once within the home sent a panic in their bones. And it sent a panic in their bones that which they had to try and hide, so this uncomfortableness would go unnoticed. The Mountain Dew Man, as Cammy and Stewart were telepathically referring to him as, was sensing this anyway, because his powers were great in the sixth dimension, and he was renowned throughout the dark spiritual realms. This particular demon was the one with enormous bullhorns and incredible strength. To mask his demonic layered form, there was a powerful spell invoked to conceal and condense the massive size of this beast. If this Mountain Dew Man weren't careful, he would give himself away. Carelessly bumping into something in a moment's slip would reveal his true extra-dimensional mass. Sit down and I'll come back with some herbs and roots that once you eat, your stomachs will be soothed, and you will become relaxed in spirit, the Mountain Dew Man told them as they sat on that big gray couch. What do you mean exactly when you say relaxed in spirit? Stuart asked. Oh, don't think about it too much. I just mean it will calm you down real nice, the Mountain Dew Man said with a sardonic smile. Okay, we'll wait right here while you gather your herbs and roots. We're not going anywhere, Cammy said as she grabbed Stu's hand to hold it. Oh, I know. I mean, where you gonna go? Mountain Dew Man tried to cover up the fact that he was anticipating something. The man who was not a man left out the limestone doorway. I'm feeling real funny, Cammy. These flashes of people coming and going are really messing with my head. I don't think they're just lost souls. It would make sense considering everything, but I don't think it's smart of us to think that's all that's going on here. And I can feel that you feel the same, don't you? Yeah, I'm more than suspicious of this creep. I'm convinced he's either possessed or else he's an actual demon himself, but either way, he was sent by Lamb and you know it. Yeah, he might be possessed, but who knows? He could be any number of evil entities or an evil spirit. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens. Yeah, we really don't have any other options. Even if he is just a man, the demons must be coming to take our souls soon. Then we can fight them and get them to kill us if we're lucky. Then we can escape the second death. That's right, that's what we're gonna do. The man who was not a man wasn't gone for very long. He had come back with a handful of finely diced root with chopped herbs and a smile. He peculiarly lit them on fire with a match as they burned in his hand, then quickly closed his fist over the flame as soon as the herb and root lit in his hand, in his palm. He sprinkled the embers on top of some black oil that was in a saucer, then grabbed a small black loaf, dipping the bread as it soaked the broken end quite well with saturation that absorbed the root and herb within the oil. Take it. Eat of my body. Just kidding. The Mountain Dew Man held out the piece of bread in his hand, but Cammy and Stu just looked at him with a funny look. We need something to wash it down with. Can we have something to drink? Water would be fine. Stewart was quick with his wits. The man who was not a man became angry because there was no water, and he believed that Cammy and Stu knew damn well that there was no water there for them to drink. There was nothing to drink anywhere close by. He tightened his hand so tight around the little black loaf of bread that it had crumbled and squished in between his clenched fists. As he noticed what he had done, his hands began to unnaturally tremble and shake. The saucer tossed the oil off onto the dirt floor inside the little shack. Fuck, I'm sorry. The only water around here is very far away. I should have thought of that. Mountain Dew Man hardly could keep himself together. Don't worry. We won't make you go get it. If you could point us in the direction... Cammy was cut off by the agitated demon in disguise. No! I can't let you go in your condition. That would be terrible of me. I'll draw some water for you. I'll be quick as can be, okay? Just do me a favor and relax, will you? Then I could do the same. Mountain Dew Man seemed nervous thinking of them getting up from the couch, like he was hiding something. Okay, thank you. That is very kind of you. We won't leave this place. We'll wait for you. And we will be here when you get back. We're very thirsty. Stu was quick to say something he thought could calm the man down. Okay, good. I was worried you might try and leave and go out there on your own if I was gone for too long. You could get hurt out there and die in your condition. So please relax, okay? The Mountain Dew Man emphasized this concern with highest importance. You're absolutely right. We will be happy to relax here until you come back with water. Stewart tried to assure the man. Thank you. I hope I didn't ruin the bread for you. It's still good. I just squished it a little. Mountain Dew Man gathered the mess and sat it on the saucer. Don't worry about it. I would have been frustrated too, Cammy sympathized. The man who was not a man gave a sinister laugh with a smile as his gaze was piercing under his dropped brow. He realized what he was doing was coming across as ill intent and inherently evil, so he turned his face away, gathered himself, and looked back one more time before he left with some pep in his step. All right then, I'll be back within the hour, maybe much sooner, if I can keep a good pace. That sounds great. We'll enjoy this time relaxing here. Thank you for your kindness and hospitality. Cammy did her best to relieve him, and it seemed to work as the Mountain Dew Man took a big sigh of relief, then walked into the forest where there was no trail from the small clearing of this strange and weirdly placed prairie. What the hell is that? Stewart asked Cammy as they looked at each other startled from this noise that came from where the Mountain Dew Man had just disappeared in the deep wilderness. The culmination of sounds were like many growls of large beasts, along with human voices blended together as one indecipherable, inaudible mess. The vibrations shook the trees in that place where the weird man had entered the forest. The invisible waves rushed by their ears in a chilling whisper that stung down to the eardrum, making the nerves in their jaws tingle. As they squinted in sharp pain until the odd sensation subsided, they carefully walked out of the jaggedly stacked limestone doorway to the hollowed-out tree with the treehouse built through and around the opening. When Cammy stood next to the petrified golden wood that bordered the tree like a wall or fence that was intended for gnomes, she couldn't help but think that might be exactly what it was, a place for the dwarves. She thought to herself and connected her brainwaves to Stewart, who pondered this very real possibility. It seemed impossible to enter the treehouse and actually fit. As they looked up and inside, examining the impossible construction that baffled them, wondering how this thing was built. They just knew it wasn't natural and had the strong notion that it was from another realm or dimension. Once Cammy stepped back and away, Stewart jumped in and found himself either to be smaller or the inside of the treehouse to be bigger. Neither of them could understand it, but they were amazed and confused in this wondrous dream-like fascination that overtook their imaginations like a child caught in their make-believe world that they couldn't snap out of while they played. There on the floor underneath the ground level, they had no idea there was another level underground. It was only seen from inside, and that was because of a mirage-like black water that reflected solid black, black as complete blindness. That water was transparent once in the tree, looking above and looking over the ledge of the ground level area entrance of the treehouse that angularly looped upward into and through the hollowed out inside of the grand tree. They saw was also what was under that clear water that somehow wasn't black anymore. Such a mirage camouflaged itself, appearing to be solid ground as one viewed the tree from outside. How clever, Stu and Cammy thought to themselves with those shared thoughts. Under that water was a view of a world they wished not to enter. There were flying creatures big as large dogs that had many rows of fangs with outward curved points sticking out of their exaggerated open mouths like sharp, pointed bananas. Stu and Cammy looked down inside that tree trunk to see these hellish beasts gracefully waving furry wings that were like nothing they had ever seen, even in their wildest dreams or hallucinations. Their wings looked like two ribbons that were cut out into ripped-away patterns of dark and evil design that weren't intended to be seen in the waking world. They flew close to the surface of the water. Cammy and Stewart wondered how they were appearing to be flying underwater and realized this must be an ethereal mirror of some sorts, showing them a glimpse of the entrance to what awaited them once they began their descent to the bottom of the pit through the lake of fire. Did they just jump straight into the top entrance? It seemed so. But they knew they couldn't enter until the chemicals had run their course through their veins, destroying every living cell left in their dying bodies. They felt like there was still much life left within them, even though they could very much tell and feel that all life within them was rapidly dying. They couldn't help but wonder how many trees were like this in the world. Something told them this wasn't the only one. Stewart led the way up the steps of the treehouse. There were triangular foundation pieces of cedar that held up each plank cedar step. There were no nails as they were grifted, showing tightly formed lines of individual parts, which was not easily noticeable. However, the absence of nails was striking. Each piece was slightly pegged into the walls of the hollowed out tree that was actually very thick considering it was an old, mostly dead tree. That old oak was actually strong. As Cammy followed Stu up to the mid-level of the treehouse, she could not take her eyes off of the pit that was visible under those puddles of transparent black water. She could see the pit went down for miles. The bottom was lit with bright burning fire so unnatural it mesmerized her in her tracks, yet her feet still moved forward, while her staring prevented her to move forward with every step she apprehensively took. Why did she feel as Stewart the same unusually strong feeling and sense of hypnotizing superintoxication? Gazing in the pit that led down to the lake of eternal fire was one and the same as gazing in the reflection of carnage. This was the culmination of their turmoil within themselves that had boiled over, devastating their adult lives from the toxicity of their childhoods, and now they wished to play in a treehouse as children, something they never got to properly do. After breaking free from the hypnotizing power of the pit, second thought was interesting and fascinated them the more they thought about the possibility as they made their way up to that mid-level in the large hollow spot. What if this was only an illusion within the puddles?